We'll call the public hearing to order. The public hearing is for House File 814. We have about 16 speakers that have signed up, and when we have exhausted that list, that will end the public hearing. Each speaker gets 2 minutes, and our trusty timekeeper here will be in charge and hold up the signs for you when you're about to run out of time. Would you please state your name and the organization or who you're representing before you start, and we will start with Mr. Edelman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members of the committee. My name is David Edelman. I'm the Executive Director of the Iowa Wholesale Beer Distributors Association. The IWBDA is an integral part of Iowa's economy, and Iowa distributors are the only entity in the equation that must pay anything above the 5-cent deposit. Iowa's redemption law is working as an environmental tool that it was designed to be, cleaning up roadside litter and driving recycling efforts. However, after 40 years, there may be ways to enhance the program that benefits Iowa consumers. Our Iowa-based family-owned distributors employ 1,600 Iowans and provide $100 million in wages and salaries, paying north of $105 million in state, federal, and local taxes. We provide a $783 million economic impact to the state of Iowa. 40 years ago, after the legislation passed the law, this law is woven into the fabric of Iowa culture. And in addition to Iowans receiving their 5 cents at a retailer or a redemption center, nonprofits like churches, volunteer firefighters, and Little Leagues use these containers to support their programs. Iowa's wholesale beer industry instituted and continues to implement a cradle-to-grave management of their beverage containers. They have 2 main goals: to provide an efficient, cost-effective, high-quality service to their retail accounts and to assure recycling of the beverage containers, resulting in a resource recovery and reuse of raw materials. Since the bottle bill was signed into law, beer distributors have invested heavily into container redemption logistics and recycling infrastructure. This investment has grown considerably since the first container was stamped for a nickel deposit in 1979 and now supports 800 jobs. Our distributors have approximately $29 million worth of expenses to pay for, including cost of recycling of the plastic, glass, and metal products, pickup costs of the cardboard boxes, disposal of glass and plastic, sanitation expenses, and storage costs. This is the expense to ensure that the system works efficiently from cradle to grave, and we look forward to working with you all as you shape a new, efficient bottle recovery system.
Thank you. Next we have Sherry Cunningham, is that correct?
Yes. My name is Sherry Cunningham, and I've owned the Pelican Bottle Redemption Center for 21 years. Mind you, I wrote this before the new amendment, so bear with me. My sister and my parents both owned redemption centers, but have closed their doors due to the inability to earn a profit in this industry. I am here on behalf to speak for the Mom and Pop Size Redemption Centers. At the peak of the bottle bill, there were about 260 centers, and now there are about 90. Just like my family, 2/3 of those businesses have closed their doors because they couldn't afford to stay open. I currently have 10 employees, but need 20. My average employee can physically count and sort about 1,000 cans per hour. If you do the math, that is $10 in profit. If I pay an employee $10 per hour, that means there is zero money left for me to pay rent, insurance, or utilities. And at $10 per hour, I can barely get potential employees to enter through my doors. I also want to discuss my fundraisers. In 2020, I paid out $164,000 from my redemption centers. These benefited our children and our grandchildren. There are 54 of those groups on this list and many more that I don't know about. Why am I talking about these things instead of House File 814? Because if you don't change the handling fee for the 80+ redemption centers, they will not survive. And if they don't survive, then what good is it to have House File 814? So what I want you to do at the end of this session this year is remember how you did how you voted for the handling fee. Then in 5 years, if you did nothing or went against it, and there are very few redemption centers left, I want you to go to your grandchildren and your children and tell them that you took part of getting rid of a program that recycled over 80% at its peak. Then I want you to tell your children and your grandchildren when they ask for hundreds of dollars for the programs and proms and sports that they want to do, that you took away the one program that these kids have an avenue to raise money for without any help from their parents or their grandparents. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I apologize for the interruption. If it's possible, if you and/or Representative Lundgren, with an amendment on the table that a lot of people haven't had to digest, is it okay if we ask people who are giving testimony today to also send us their comments on the amendment? Because the timing of it, most people haven't seen the amendment and been able to digest it. So if you could, I'd appreciate that, Mr. Chair.
Understand you as you want to ask a question and then have them answer it by email or?
Well, yeah, as Sherry just gave her testimony, it would be nice if we mentioned to her, we would like to hear her testimony or follow up on the amendment. Obviously not necessarily in a public hearing, but if it's an email to you as the chair or to Shannon and Representative Lundgren and Eisenhart as people working on the bill too, either way, just so we hear the comments on the amendment too.
Yeah, I guess there's no reason why, you're the ranking member on the subcommittee, correct? Between Shannon and Representative Eisenhart, my mailbox is full enough, but I'm more than willing to send them that way because they're the ones that are working on the bill.
Working on the bill. So
Okay,
thank you.
we will move forward and John Murphy.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and legislators in attendance. My name is John Murphy, and I'm the Executive Director of the Iowa Beverage Association. So we are the distributors of non-alcoholic beverage throughout the state of Iowa, so Coke, Pepsi, Dr. Pepper. We have 2,500 employees at distributorships and facilities across the state. And as I look at the members sit around the table and around the room, I know that we have facilities either in your district or in close proximity to your district. So a lot of employees live in your district, so they support you and the work that you do. We have a $1.8 billion economic impact on the state of Iowa through our distributorship and the sales of our products. And they're products that Iowans really love, and we appreciate their support. And as it relates to the bottle bill, distributors have been part of the pillars that have held up the bottle bill for decades. You know, we play an important role in terms of delivering the beverages, but also picking them up and bringing them into the redemption process. And we've been vitally important to making sure that it works at that level. And so, but we also understand there are some efficiencies that can be gained and brought to the current system. And we've been investing, as Mr. Edelman alluded to, equipment and to space and employee time to make sure that the system works as best as it can. And we do appreciate that there's some legislative fixes that could come about. And Mr. Jacoby, Representative Jacoby makes a good point. We are currently registered in favor of House File 814. We just took a look at the amendment late this afternoon. We will likely change our registration on that. We think there are some really interesting parts of the amendment to House File 814. We don't think it's the solution right now that is going to fix the bottle bill and some of its challenges. So we would look forward to working with all the stakeholders around the room, the legislators. Thank you, Representative Lundgren, for all the work you've done on this. And we want to work with you guys to make the best bottle bill going forward. So thank you for your time.
Okay, we're going to move forward to Troy Willard of the.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Troy Willard. I'm the owner of the Can Shed. We're based out of Cedar Rapids. We have other locations in Iowa City, Hiawatha, Marion, and currently Manchester. I'm also a board member of the Iowa Recycling Association, and so a lot of the stuff that I talk about, you know, has dual purpose. It's what needs to change to help me as a businessman and recycle more containers. But then also the mission of the IRA is to keep the bottle bill in place and make it better so it keeps on serving the state of Iowa and its citizens, consumers, the best that it can. I've had a brief glance at the amendment as well. Very glad to see that there's a handling fee increase in there. I think that's probably the most paramount issue that faces you guys as how you try and change the access points and points of redemption away from dealers to facilities similar as mine. The parts of the bill that I think there's problems with is the new convenience standards. The current one at 10-minute drive seems to work from my perspective in Cedar Rapids in a highly urban area. I've got the metro area triangulated with 3 centers. We reach every major retailer dealer in the area with that 10-minute drive, but that's only about 5 miles. And so you're looking at trying to double that. And I can't speak to the rural setting. I know I've had people tell me that that's not unusual for those people to do that. So the enforcement stuff looks good. I would also like to see that people get an opportunity that you keep some kind of standard for a redemption center. I think that could be a loophole or a way to be abused. Thank you.
Next is Linda Hagdorn, is that correct?
Yes. Yes, my name is Dr. Linda Sarah Hagdorn. I am the president of the League of Women Voters of Ames and Story County, and I'm here representing the League of Women Voters of Iowa. We are definitely in favor of this bill and wish to add some discussion points for your consideration. Overall, what we are hoping, we want to appeal with a sense of fairness and common sense in 3 areas: for consumers, for businesses, and for the environment. In terms of fairness and common sense for consumers, today consumers have to hunt for a redemption center, often unsuccessfully, and then they opt to just throw away the containers. It isn't often worth a nickel to hunt and dive and haul and drive to a redemption center, especially if they're hard to find. Too many retailers are willing to sell products and to take the deposits, but are not willing to redeem those deposits. Or if they do, they make it very difficult, dirty, and typically by machines that malfunction. Raising the deposit to 10 cents will likely not impact most Iowans and will indicate the importance and significance of redemption. In terms of common sense towards businesses, if stores can sell these products, they should be willing and able to redeem them. And we hope that this bill will make that appropriate. Increasing handling fees certainly makes sense. Increasing them 2 to 3 cents can encourage redemption centers. These handling fees should be borne by those who profit from the sale of these beverages, the beverage manufacturers and the distributors. That seems only fair and, again, common sense. And lastly, we look at fairness and common sense to our environment. We want to encourage redemption, reduce waste, and keep our state beautiful. Redemption containers should be expanded to include water, tea, sports drinks, and juice containers that use the same materials as currently redeemable containers. Let's increase that deposit fee. The current 5 cents per container is an insufficient incentive to many. A 10-cent deposit may have more appropriate power to incentivize. Let's be fair, it's only common sense. Thank you.
Next is Dustin Miller.
Hi, Dustin Miller, representing the Iowa Grocery Industry Association, which represents over 1,400 members, employing over 100,000 Iowans and paying over $1.5 billion in wages annually. Let me first start by saying that we appreciate all the time that the legislators have given on this issue this year, and also by the ongoing discussions we've had with the distributors on this issue over the year. I'll be speaking about the language in front of us, but I do know that there is an amendment that was more fully released just recently. Our organization truly wants to work on solutions that provide the ability to get redemption out of the stores of those stores that are interested, and improves the economics for redemption centers, but it has to make sense for consumers. Our organization has invested significant amounts of time on a variety of different options, and none of which include repealing of the bottle bill, but certainly trying to work with solutions to get to the goals of our members. What's important to understand is this started out as a litter control program that predated recycling programs across the state. And it's simply become a separate sorting system that is disproportionately borne by our members, Iowa companies, for a small portion of the waste stream. We aren't fighting people's nostalgic feelings or the money to keep the system, but our members would like for stores to no longer be mandated recycling sites. I'm sure in a back and forth I would hear that if we sell it, then we should take it back. But my response to that would be there are a variety of things that are sold by retailers that do not have the same mandate. Instead, recycling and trash collection is a function of local government, not private business. Codification of the convenience standard ultimately does not get to, it has a fundamental flaw. We have certain redemption centers across the state that are requesting $15,000 a year to maintain their operation. This simply isn't fair to our members. Since I'll jump to the end, I would want to say, with an increased handling fee, we have sympathy for the redemption centers who have not had an increase, and what they operate is well below. But consider what a penny costs in the overall system. Thank you.
Is it Doug Webb?
It is.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Doug Webb. I am CEO of Drop It. Thank you all for being here tonight and for your time addressing the bottle bill this session. Iowa's current can and bottle redemption process is frankly bottlenecked. Consumers are forced to choose between their time and a nickel, where the law of convenience undoubtedly wins. While opponents argue that this justifies eliminating the system altogether, the solution lies in modernization. A program we've created called Drop It is a modern fix we need. Stakeholders have put their heads together in other bottle bill states to develop a system that eliminates the unhygienic parts of the redemption, including removing the process from brick and mortar grocery stores. While bolstering the overall system, Drop It takes the best parts of those systems and make it practical for Iowa. Instead of walking you through the entire Drop It process, I will sum it up for you. Large drop boxes will be placed throughout the Iowa communities to replace grocery store redemption if a grocery store no longer wishes to redeem. Consumer time will be cut in half the use of barcode IDs and online financial transactions. Modern technology of our system desperately needs. Redemption centers then will pick up the cans from these drop boxes. Drop It is convenient for consumers, clean for grocers, and sustainable for redemption centers and distributors. Drop It is a win-win-win. Let's not kick the proverbial can down the road for another 4 decades. The technology is here and the time is now. And this bill in its current form will allow innovative and entrepreneurial solutions like Drop It to come into the state. I will end with an open invitation. Should anybody want to see how Drop It works firsthand, please feel free to reach out to me. I would be happy to discuss more of the process and answers or any questions you may have. Thank you again for your time and consideration.
Okay, let's see, we have Jess. No? You think it's Chip? Regina? Okay, no, you're not a representative anymore.
No, sir.
Chip
Yes.
Baltimore.
Hello, my name is Chip Baltimore. I'm here on behalf of Fairway Stores, and we're registered in opposition to the bill and also the amendment that just came out. The bottle bill is quite frankly a dinosaur. It was originally enacted as a litter control measure trying to clean up ditches, and since then it has turned into simply a trash collection system. And from the grocery store perspective, it really is becoming every day more and more of a problem. We don't have the facilities to continue to clean, especially in this time of a pandemic, constantly when people are bringing dirty, disgusting garbage into the stores in carts, wiping down all the surfaces. It has become a sanitation problem. And I think consumers understand that in this time of a pandemic. We see cans and bottles come in with chewing tobacco spit, urine, needles, cigarette butts, ashes, all of which is coming into the same place where you buy your food. And for whatever reason, based on how this bill and this law started, the grocery stores decided that the grocery stores would be the ones to take these back. But we don't see this in any other area. When you go to a restaurant and they give you a styrofoam box to take your food home in, You don't have to take your styrofoam box back to the restaurant to allow them to recycle it or redeem it. If this is simply a matter of money, there's plenty of money in the system. The system does need more money in it, but there's currently money in the system in the form of unredeemed nickels that are being held by one small group of people in this system. We'd simply ask for you to vote against this. Thank you.
RJ? Go ahead, give me your name.
My name is Mike Brewington. I live in Johnston. I'm the president of Iowa Beverage Systems. I'm a beer distributor. Our territory runs from just north of Guttenberg, Iowa. It tracks the Mississippi River down to Keokuk. You turn right, head west over to Lamoni, back north to just north of Boone, and then back across to Cedar Rapids. We have 352 full-time employees in our 3 operations here, Cedar Rapids and in Eldridge, Iowa. We service 5,000 licensed retail customers, and we border 3 non-deposit states. The bottle bill has proven itself a valuable tool in reducing litter, increasing recycling rates, keeping our rivers, lakes, public spaces, cities, towns, and roads much cleaner than our surrounding states. Our bottle bill is environmentally responsible legislation and has resulted in Iowa having one of the top rates of recovered and recycled beverage containers in the country. My company and my fellow beer wholesalers have invested millions of dollars since the inception of the bottle bill to ensure the success of the bottle bill. And we continue to invest in facilities, trucks, equipment, supplies to keep it working and working well. We are committed to deposit legislation and will work with all interested groups to improve its effectiveness while making it more convenient for our customers and our consumers. I would welcome anybody to tour our facility, ride with our guys. I understand the concerns of retailers with dirty cans because we picked them up from them, so I know exactly what they're talking about. But the bottle bill has been a very effective recycling and redemption program.
Next, RJ.
Thank you. My name is RG Schwarm, and I'm sharing comments prepared by Mick Berry, Mid-America Recycling President and CEO, who's currently out of state. Mid-America is Iowa's largest recycler and operates the state's largest single-stream recycling plant. Over 40 years ago, then Governor Robert Ray, Representative Terry Branstad, and others implemented Iowa's bottle bill, laying the foundation and cornerstone of our state's recycling success. The bottle bill works hand in hand with single-stream curbside recycling programs, not apart from them. In fact, thanks to our container deposit system, Iowa taxpayers enjoy some of the lowest single-stream recycling costs in the country. Deposit cans and bottles are the cleanest recycling product and fetch more money on the open market. Recyclers then pass those savings on to Iowans, defraying the cost of curbside pickup. Meanwhile, market demand for dirty single-stream loads has plummeted nationwide, forcing numerous communities to cut back on recycling services or cut them altogether. In other words, Iowa's curbside recycling programs are successful in part because of the bottle bill, not in spite of it. Thanks to the bottle bill, we recover over 70% of deposit containers. Non-deposit states, in contrast, have a container recycling rate hovering around 30%. To that end, I believe it's important to make some key adjustments to the current legislation, some of which I believe are addressed in the amendment. But first, redemption centers need a handling fee increase. The 1 cent fee and 1 cent has remained flat for 40 years while business costs have increased. Second, we should be very careful about expanding the consumer convenience standard. A 10-mile radius in the Des Moines area is significantly different than in rural Iowa, and significantly different in when you consider against current practice of 10 minutes. We appreciate the work that this committee and the legislature as a whole has put into this issue, and we look forward to finding a way to ensure Iowa's bottle bill remains part of our recycling system for decades to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the list is Ronald Langston.
Good afternoon. My name is Ron Langston. I'm the president and CEO of Fuel Iowa, located here in Urbandale, Iowa. Since its enactment in 1979, Local grocery and community convenience stores have been inundated with multiple layers of bottles and cans. They no longer have the capacity to manage or store, especially during a health pandemic. Nevertheless, the public is being trained to accept the responsibility of taking bottles and cans 15 to 30 miles to the nearest redemption center to claim their 5 cents. There is speculation from several media and academic sources. Unclaimed bottles and cans provide an annual bottom line financial windfall to distributors ranging from 20 million to 50 million. If accurate, it is unacceptable. I would like to suggest an alternative approach. Fuel Iowa has recommended legislation establishing bottle bill transparency. The primary goal of the legislation is to provide the public a transparent accounting value of unclaimed bottles and cans. There are several key questions the public has a right to know. Number one, what is the value of unclaimed deposits? 2, who keeps or should keep funds from unclaimed deposits? 3, how should unclaimed deposit funds be used? Should funds be taxed? And who should decide? First, let us have a transparent accounting of unclaimed value of cans and bottles. Second, a comprehensive economic viability assessment of the statewide network of redemption centers is in order and long overdue. Third, let us look creatively at the public-private sector partnerships between cities and counties to encourage entrepreneurs to seek innovative solutions for local landfills and redemption centers to work cooperatively together towards developing a strategy to finance and increase accessible redemption centers. I ask you to give serious consideration to passing a Bottle Bill Transparency Act this session. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That wraps up the list that I have that have signed up, and Representative Eisenhart.
Mr. Chair, just wanted to bring to the attention of folks here and online that we had a rather robust contribution of comments online. And I wanted to make sure that that commentary is available to all the members and perhaps even the public going forward. I don't know exactly what the mechanism for that is, but if we could check into it, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, that basically wraps up the public hearing for tonight, and I thank everybody for their comments and attending. So the meeting will come to a close.